And searching for a daycare or childcare for months and months and months.
The search to find childcare was a little upsetting. Some places weren't, up to par, or it was too expensive, or they only had half days.
One of the best kept secrets in our state is the statewide search engine for looking for licensed care.
I went to Great Start website and started to do some research. It is a great resource. It's going to give you all the information that you need, and it's really easy to use.
I found his childcare through the Great Start to Quality website, and I narrowed down my choices based on my location and different filters based on what I felt like I needed for my family.
You can pull up all the licensed providers in your area, and then you can go through and see what they offer, how the day flows, their policies. All of that is available on the Great Start to Quality website.
Hours played a huge factor. I wanted it to be something that was kind of customized towards me because I work for myself.
I have a friend who has a child who is autistic, and she had been struggling looking for a place to help her find the right thing for her situation. And Great Start was able to give her a bunch of resources to help her with that.
Great Start helps us to provide greater care for parents and children.
I love seeing kids. Kids are why I do this work. And then the next would be helping families find a provider that they are happy with.
I am so glad that I got here. I appreciate this program so much. It helps me as a parent. It makes my days easier. It keeps me at ease to know that she's safe. The people here love her, and that I can count on them on a daily basis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Donna Wade, the Senior Director of Programs at the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, ECIC, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. On July 12th, 2023, Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed an executive order establishing the Michigan Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential, MiLEAP. As a statewide leader in early childhood, ECIC, in collaboration with partners statewide, have identified several recommendations. Our top 10 recommendations for how MiLEAP can meaningfully impact for young children, their families, and the early childhood workforce in Michigan. Our first recommendation to MiLEAP was to improve equitable access to free and low-cost childcare, including this policy change that we're here to talk about this afternoon. Here to tell us more is Lisa Brewer-Walraven. Lisa is the director of the Child Development and Care Office within MiLEAP. In this role, Lisa serves as a CCDF administrator, ensuring all low-income families with children 0 to 12 have access to high-quality early learning opportunities. Lisa was instrumental in making this policy possible through collaboration and by listening to the concerns of Michigan's families and parents. Welcome, Lisa.
Thanks, Donna. Thanks for your comments on the policy change. MiLEAP is thrilled to announce this groundbreaking change that will extend childcare assistance to more families. Effective February 25th, 2024, Michigan is eliminating the requirement that parents help the state collect child support from the child's other parent to qualify for the child care subsidy program. Having heard from families about the challenges child support enforcement adds to already busy parents, such as attending court appointments and providing proof of parentage, MiLEAP realizes that healthy relationships are critical to a young child's brain development, and MiLEAP is proud to remove this barrier to ensure more young children in Michigan have access to quality childcare. In addition to talking about the change to child support today, we want to talk about something else that's happening to help us expand access to child care subsidy to more families in Michigan. We're adopting another recommendation that came from ECIC's top 10 recommendations to help destigmatize the term subsidy so that more families are inclined to apply. MiLEAP will soon rename the Child Care Subsidy Program to Child Care Scholarships. Maryland adopted this name change and saw substantial increases in child care scholarship applications after changing the name.
Thank you, Lisa. Now we will hear from one of my colleagues, Sacha Klein, Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy at ECIC and facilitator for Think Babies Michigan. Welcome, Sacha.
Thank you, Donna, and good afternoon, everyone. As Donna mentioned, my name is Sacha Klein, and in addition to directing ECIC's Policy and Advocacy Department, I have the honor of facilitating the Think Babies Michigan Coalition. Think Babies Michigan is a collaborative of more than 2,400 members in our state, leaders, experts, including parents and family members, organizations, and early childhood service providers, and also including state agency partners like MiLEAP. Together, this collaborative combines resources to help support infants and toddlers' growing minds and to support their families, and to work together to make Michigan a state where babies and their families thrive regardless of families' income, race or ethnicity, or their zip code. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that even before MiLEAP was officially launched in December as a new department, it established itself as a truly collaborative partner in the Think Babies Michigan work. In November of last year, Michelle Richards, who is now the acting director of MiLEAP, met with the Think Babies Michigan Steering Committee, specifically to hear from our parent leaders and other members about opportunities for the new department to respond to challenges that Michigan families were facing in accessing early childhood services. Michelle Michelle asked Think Babies Michigan how the new department could potentially change the way it was doing business or business had been done in the past and make early care and education more accessible to families. And our parents and our members were loud and clear about some opportunities to do that. And at the top of the list was the policy change that we're here to talk about today. And just the reality that 1 out of 3 parents in this, or 1 out of 3 children in the state of Michigan has parents who lives with a primary parent, and that the child support cooperation requirement was indeed a barrier to many families getting childcare. We are here today because MiLEAP not only heard that feedback, but they did more than just go through the motions. They listened genuinely and they took action right away with the launch of the new department, and are, as you've heard, in the process of changing this policy. So we are honored to be a partner with MiLEAP in that policy change. And we are grateful to all of you. I know many of you on this call also advocated for this change and has been waiting for it to happen. So on behalf of the babies in the state of Michigan and their families, we're excited to be here today, and we thank you.
Thank you, Sacha. We've also asked parents to share how this policy change will impact their families. Think Babies Michigan leader Kara Suttville shared her thoughts in this video testimony.
In my experience of applying for childcare subsidy, it caused a lot of turmoil between me and my children's father. Everything was sensitive, I guess is the best way to describe it, like very emotional still. edgy, and then needing assistance going in, and then finding out I had to involve friend of the court when we thought we had our own dynamics figured out between him and I as to how we were going to deal with the kids. I mean, they were our kids. We figured we could do that kind of stuff. And then to even be able to apply for assistance at the time, I had to share his information, and then he felt betrayed 100%, and it wasn't even like I intentionally did it. I had to do it, and I felt like my hands were tied, and it was a horrible experience all the way around, and it caused so much trauma and fighting at the time. So I know 100% it would have been way easier, less of a dynamic. It made a huge impact. I hope this policy change impacts other families in ways that if they don't want friend of the court involved, they don't have to get friend of the court involved. I understand that there may be some situations where some families do need or want to get them involved, but I also am aware of families that would go hungry before applying. The father of my children never ever laid hands on me, but at times I was like, if he was going to, it would be because of this. I've never seen him so angry except for when this situations happen. So I could only imagine if someone was already close to being a violent situation, turning it into a violent, I think it will help with safety issues. I think it would help with families with conflict. Losing this extra clause or not having to involve seems like a huge step. I mean, it puts the power as families back in our hands instead of taking the power away from us.
Nice. Next, we will hear from Emily Laidlaw. Emily currently serves as the Office of Early Childhood Education Team Leader and the Director of the Child Care Licensing Bureau. Emily has also played a pivotal role in ensuring this barrier to accessing child care subsidy was removed. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Lisa. You all have played a pivotal role in getting this changed. As was mentioned, more than 1 in 3 children live with their primary parent in Michigan. And getting assistance shouldn't be any more difficult for families with a primary parent than it is for multi-parent households. We're looking forward to seeing the impact of this groundbreaking change and how it will change access to childcare for many families across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Next up, we have another parent video testimony. This one comes from Think Babies Michigan parent leader, Rochelle McKissick Harris.
Babies Michigan Coalition gave me the space to bring this to the table, to attach it alongside some other policies that we were already working on, and basically reshift the structure of that and to include that. And so as a coalition, along with some other partners in the state, we went to battle and trying to get that removed so that other families would not be hindered in receiving the support that they needed to sustain their families, just due to that one piece of policy. And so for those who might not know what the policy was, because it has been removed now, if your child had 2 separate parents that were not married and in the household together, you would need to open up a child support case against the other parent in order to receive benefits. And we are a blended family, but we're not a blended family in the same country. So it didn't make any sense. And so the policy in essence didn't really make sense, but it was being upheld. And so I'm so grateful for Think Babies Michigan and the space to be able to bring the concerns of not just me as a parent, but of other parents within my community and around the state, and for us to rally together and really get movement and get this push to being removed. And so now families are able to apply. They don't have to worry about opening child support cases if that's not what they want to do, and to really be able to thrive.
So we want to thank both Kara and Rochelle for providing those video testimonies. Lastly, we have Mariah McCain. Communications Manager at ECIC, to provide an overview of the toolkit that our communications team created to support you all in sharing this important policy change. Welcome, Mariah.
Thank you, Donna, and good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. I am excited to be here today to share the resource that ECIC, in collaboration with many parent leaders, early childhood advocates, created so that we can ensure that more families in Michigan are able to access quality childcare with less barriers. Before ECIC even began crafting these messages, it made sense for us to talk to the very people that it would impact. So we held a focus group of over a dozen Think Babies Michigan parent leaders that we are very grateful for, who were able to share their feedback on the following. One was how to frame these messages in a way that for families, it was clear, it was concise, it was right to the point. And then second, how are we making sure that this language that we're using in the messaging to reach families was culturally appropriate and relevant? How do we ensure that, oftentimes when you're accessing government benefits, we all know there can be a stigma associated with it. So how do we make sure that no one feels shame as they're accessing these resources or getting the messaging to apply? So we basically asked them a few different terms that we thought could be destigmatized, just to get their feedback. The first was single parent. Was there a stigma that was associated to that? And most parent leaders said that there was, right? Oftentimes it's not necessarily culturally appropriate. And then we also found that there's an issue of accuracy, right? So parents can be co-parenting, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are single. So instead, you'll see us using the language primary parent or guardian instead of single parent. The second term or phrase that we found some stigma around and parent leaders gave feedback was child support. It's a process that can bring, obviously, as we kind of saw with our parent leader testimonials, can bring a lot of emotion, right? So we decided that we, instead of just saying child support, would use the terminology engage with the Office of Child Support. We also talked about subsidy and how it's going to be renamed. So subsidy is also stigmatized sometimes. And then also a lot of the parent leaders just said, families don't use subsidy, they don't use that term when they're applying. They need help paying for childcare. They need childcare assistance. So we wanted to make sure that that was clear and easy for them to see. So instead of subsidy in the external facing where we're reaching families, you'll see helping for childcare assistance. And then when we're speaking to the navigators, system navigators and professionals, you will see some of that subsidy language that we're more familiar with. In addition, we wanted to make sure that this was an inclusive campaign, right? We want to make sure that not everyone speaks English or English as a first language. So the toolkit is also available in Swahili, in Spanish, and Arabic as well. So without further ado, I will go ahead and share the resource that we created. This will be available on the Early Childhood Investment Corporation website, all its translations. So we're excited to share this link. This is a very accessible link that you can use. It allows you to go through the presentation at your own pace. It will also allow everyone to be able to copy and paste all the messages, so it's simple, and then also access all the links. So within this toolkit, you'll have social media messages, you'll have emails that you can use and copy to send to other families or early childhood professionals. Starts out with an introduction of when this policy was effective, and a little bit of the background, the purpose. So you'll find sample emails, you'll find talking points, social media posts. There's also some background information that we've linked to that ECIC created, just sharing more of the statistics around this policy change. We have social media posts. So again, you can easily copy and paste these, and then you can download each of the graphics. These are the general social media posts, kind of the evergreen general messages announcing a policy change. And then these are a little bit more specific of messages for families. If you're working with them, if you know that maybe they were previously denied, but this talks a little bit more about engaging with the Office of Child Support. Then we go into sample emails that you can use. We are asking people to either go and apply, or go to the Great Start to Quality website where they can check their eligibility before applying. This messaging was specifically created for partners, early childhood professionals, system advocates. So here we have some talking points where you can work with families and actually let them know the amount that they can make in order to be eligible, whether their salary or giving them, an hourly full-time rate as well. This is an email you can send out to other early childhood professionals, system navigators, and advocates. And again, you can copy and paste this. And then finally, there's some resources with additional information and then links to the application itself. So we are excited to have this resource available to everyone. We'll make sure to share it in an email following this meeting. But we hope that it is a helpful resource in making sure that families and more families are applying and just getting the assistance that they deserve.
Thank you, Mariah. We'll now take some time to entertain a few questions. If you haven't already done so, please put your question in the chat. And I see there was only one question in the chat so far, and looks like Lisa answered it. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll answer them at this time.
I also want to acknowledge, I think we have Rochelle here, and we also have Kara, the two parent leaders who spoke in those testimonials, if anyone has questions for them as well. And we appreciate you all being here today. And thank you for all the work you've done.
So Brittany S., will DHHS pay rates be increasing as well? Lisa, do you want to try that, or Emily?
Sure. So if you've been watching, the budget process has started here in Lansing. And yes, the governor in her executive budget recommendation did ask for an increase in our reimbursement rates, but we have to wait for the full process to take place, the committee hearings, and then final decisions on budget. So there is a proposed increase, but it is not in place yet.
Thank you, Lisa. Whoops, we're going fast now. Helen asks, are child care providers aware of these changes? Should I be sending info directly to them?
Yes, please share this information. Today is our first big announcement about this change. We were happy to partner with Think Babies and ECIC to do the announcement today, but you all are the first ones hearing it, and we're counting on you to share out this information with all of your peers, your partners, your stakeholders. We really want to get the message out.
Right. So Helen, after this meeting, you'll have access to the toolkit and you can use that to share out. Someone from Trinity Preschool asked, how do we accept scholarships?
A family would go to a DHHS local office or use MyBridges to apply for the scholarship. Once they are determined eligible, they will be asked who they would like their child care provider to be. If you are a licensed provider, you will fill out a form called the 4025 with them, and that will link you as their provider to their scholarship case. And that is all you need to do to be eligible as a licensed provider to care for children who are eligible for the scholarship.
Easy peasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sebastian asks, what happens to the accumulated balances from absent parents moving forward? Will they still be required to pay back balances?
Sebastian, that is a great question. I'm going to have to check with my colleagues in the Office of Child Support to see how that process works, but we'll work to get an answer to that question.
So, Sari Bet, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It is great to hear that this barrier has been removed. Another barrier I know there is in our community is that families have been working in order to apply for child care assistance, but cannot work unless they have child care assistance. Is this also included in the new policy change?
So I think you're asking if parents who are applying for the scholarship still need a need reason. Yes, there is a requirement for a need reason, although we do have several categories that can meet that requirement. One is employment, one is training and education, one is family preservation, and the last one is a broader category called approved activities. So there is a little bit of flexibility under approved activities if they are participating in a work training activity. We currently do not have a policy that allows us to offer the child care scholarship for job search. However, that is an allowable item within the federal regulations, so it's something we could talk about and look at going forward.
Thanks, Lisa. Denise Smith asked, I'm wondering if the cover slide shouldn't lead with scholarship instead of subsidy.
Hi, Denise. We can certainly keep looking at that. I think we're trying to make a soft transition, I will say, into moving from subsidy to scholarship. So we're trying to use both words together as everyone gets used to the transition.
Can I come off mute? No, I get it and totally agree with that. I was just to drive home that it is scholarship. It felt like that should lead and underneath have subsidy, as you explained in the second slide.
All right. Thanks, Denise. We'll take a look.
Dawn asked, if parents were recently denied due to child support order, how can they reapply?
They can reapply today. They can do it as soon as they are ready.
Oh, yep, it looks like you already answered that one. Sasha, did you have a question?
She did. Sasha asked, what happens if families use MyBridges to apply for multiple support services, not just childcare? This may be food stamps or Medicaid. Do they still have to comply with the Office of Child Support?
So childcare is the first program that is moving to remove this barrier. Food assistance, the Department of Health and Human Services has applied for a waiver so that they can also remove it for food assistance. The waiver has not been approved, but we know that it should be coming soon. So for those other programs at this time, there is still a requirement, but we are slowly working to remove it across the assistance programs.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
Melinda asked, can you address license exempt childcare application process?
Sure. So Melinda, we do have a process for license exempt childcare providers. There is an application at the CDC website. We can put the website link in the chat. You can fill out that application and you may fax it, you may email it, you may mail it to the office, and we will begin the process of reviewing the application to make sure that the eligibility criteria are met. There's also a step-by-step process document at our website.
And it looks like Candy already put the link for the CDC handbook in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So from St. Trinity again, where is the form? Will parent receive money or will the money come to the center?
I'm making an assumption, so if my assumption is wrong, please reply in the chat. The application to receive the child care subsidy or scholarship, you can go to MyBridges to access that application. Also at our CDC website, we have a link to the application, which is called the 1171. If you are a licensed provider, and you're caring for a child who is receiving the scholarship, you go into a system called iBilling, you submit the hours that you have provided care, and the payment will come to you as a reimbursement for the child care that has been provided. If you're a license exempt provider, we're currently making those payments to the parent, and then the parent pays the license exempt provider. If that was not your question, please let us know.
And I think Leanne asked a similar question. Leanne, did that answer your question as well?
Yes, I do believe so. I'm assuming since I'm already on the iBilling and receive the sub, then I would still get, I don't have to do anything extra or special.
You are correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. I have a question. You had mentioned the form like 40825 about when they go to so that the provider could say yes, that they're coming here. Where would I find that form?
It's the DHS 4025. It's generally generated from MyBridges as part of the application process. I believe we also have a link to the 4025 on our CDC website so that you can print it off from there and have the parent and yourself sign it.
The 4025 is the child development and care verification, provider verification form that you have to fill out for parents.
Correct.
For families who are seeking employment, how should they go about seeking childcare assistance?
So that one is a tricky question. Again, under our federal requirements, we do have to have a need reason for approving and making families eligible for the scholarship. Currently, seeking employment is not one of our approved activities unless they are connected with a Michigan Works agency. So if they're connected with a Michigan Works agency, there would be an opportunity for us to provide the support while they are seeking employment. Otherwise, they would need to look for other community resources or supports that would be available to them as they are seeking employment.
They provide an acceptance letter from their new employer, from a potential new employer?
As part of the verification, yes, with the hours that they'll be working.
Barb Monroe asked, is anyone reaching out to those parents who applied in the past but were turned down? Will they get any communication?
Yeah. Barb, we're still trying to work through a process to see if it's possible to identify those denied applications. In the meantime, if someone were to go to My Bridges to submit an application, there is currently a banner that runs across the top of the screen indicating this change and its effective date and encouraging individuals to reapply. Again, we're looking forward to all of our stakeholders and partners on this call to use the messages that are in the toolkit, whether they're social media messages or email messages, to help us get the word out.
Melinda asks, parents also need to apply through DHHS for approval, and then the license exempt provider needs to apply for MiLEAP, correct?
Correct. The parent application goes through My Bridges. The license exempt provider application goes through MiLEAP.
Right. Sacha asks, will families no longer be asked about child support, or will they be asked and can refuse to answer?
Because it's a common application that's shared across multiple programs, the question is still there. You will no longer need to be checking the box or indicating that you are in, I believe the language on the application says cooperation. And I know that's a word that we found wasn't accepted, but that is what is currently on the application.
Brittany asks, if parents live together, but the father doesn't provide financial support, does their income have to be added on the application? So I think that's what you just said.
Yeah, on the scholarship application, if they are living together, they will be asked to include that information.
Let's see, do we have any other questions? I think Candace answered the other question. I think are there any more questions? What if they are a living partner, is not the biological father?
I'm hoping Candace jumps in with the policy answer to that one as well.
I'm sorry, where's that question at? I didn't see that.
It says, what if the live-in partner is not the biological father?
If the live-in partner is not the father of any of the children that they're applying for, then we wouldn't look at his income, if that was the question.
Yeah, thanks, Candace.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, is that clear that isn't? Because the My Bridges applications can be quite confusing, especially for parents. So is it clear that you wouldn't have to put the new partner information down when applying?
I didn't say you didn't want to complete the application fully. They would not consider his income for childcare. And if they apply for other programs and he's requesting, then they would look at his income for that. But anytime the application is being completed, it needs to be completed fully with all people in the group and their information being asked for.
Thank you, Candace.
You're welcome.
Well, it doesn't look like we've generated any new questions. I hope that all of your questions have been answered. So on behalf of ECIC and MiLEAP, we'd like to thank you for attending this webinar. Please enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you.